Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in. Today I'm going to be working on centerpieces for your special occasion. And I'm going to start off with some wet oasis foam inside of just a small ceramic pot there. And you can actually have more foam than what I have in there. I do like it to sit a little bit lower into the container. That's probably about the minimum you want to go, because the lower you go, the more the topiary is going to shift around. But I'm going to start out with some alstroemeria that I'm going to do kind of a hand-tied twist to it. And I'm going to isolate the blossoms right at the top. So that's going to be your topiary. And you could do mixed flowers. It doesn't have to be all one flower. You can have greenery up there, whatever you want. The important thing is to make sure that all the blooms are right up at the top, and then you have that long exposed stem. I'm going to give mine a little bit of a twist there to kind of give it some interest as it goes down. And you just want to keep in mind the line of sight of people that are going to be sitting down. You don't want the topiary right at eye level, the poofy part right at eye level, so they can't see across the table. So by keeping it a little bit taller, that allows people to kind of see through it and around it a lot easier. I can't remember if I mentioned, but you do want to put a little bit of a wire or a chenille stem up at the top there just to keep those blossoms nice and tight and into that topiary shape. So I'm going to cover the wire either with some wax floral tape, or here I'm just using a thicker ribbon. You could use multiple ribbons if you want. You could just make a band. You could do a fancy bow up there. I'm going to do a simple just 2-loop ribbon bow tie up at the top there, and I'm actually tying it backwards, so it's a little bit more difficult than just a simple little bow. But one thing I do want to point out, when you're soaking your wet oasis foam, you don't want to push it into the water. It needs to absorb on its own, so just got to give it a little bit of time to soak up that water. If you push it under, you're going to get a pocket of air right in the middle of the foam. And so when you go to stick your fresh flowers in there, it's not soaking up the water. It's just in dry foam, so it kind of defeats the purpose. But you can give the ribbon a little fancy cut. And then once I have the bow all tied, I'm going to kind of cover up the mechanics down at the bottom. This is why I like the foam to sit a little bit lower. And I'm going to put some moss to cover it up. You can use greenery, you can use other flowers, you can use more ribbon. Stones would be really cute, little pebbles down there. This moss actually is not actual moss, it's a cloth that's been shredded. It's kind of cool, so I'll put a link to that in the descriptions if you kind of want to try it out yourself, but a big bag goes a long ways. I'm going to add a few blossoms down at the bottom just to give it a little bit more interest. It doesn't necessarily have to be flowers. You can just put another bow down there. But if you do add a little bit of interest down at the bottom, it makes it a little bit more cohesive, especially if you have a neutral colored pot. But this is a really inexpensive centerpiece. The flowers were under $10. You could get the containers at a thrift store if you wanted to. I would say that you could easily put this together for $15 each one, and they go together so fast. So you could do quite a few in one day. But there we go. Got a centerpiece, a topiary centerpiece. Thank you so much for watching.